Did you know that a sandwich is just not a sandwich without the tangy zip of Miracle Whip?
Gross.
It's not a bird, it's not a plane, it's Superhero Slate. It's a modern podcast where we talk about everything that's great, like movies, TV, superheroes. It's Superhero Slate. Oh yeah.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Superhero Slate, the show where we run down the latest superhero entertainment news.
We love TV, movies, and superheroes, so let's talk it all out.
My name is Chris Dillard.
And my name is Mike Royer.
And this week, we're talking about the launch of HBO Max.
Ooh, Maxinistas over here.
Exactly. We're going to get into more details for Zack Snyder's Justice League.
Oh my God! I feel like there's gonna be Snyder Cut news every single week, which is not necessarily a bad thing. Yeah. I mean, we're kind of in quarantine now, so.
Well, yeah, we had the rumored Snyder Cut, and now we have the confirmed Snyder Cut news.
Yeah,
so
there we go.
It's gonna be fun. I think it's just that initial rush, so we'll see. Did you know you can watch The Simpsons in classic 4:3 ratio?
Finally, they've listened.
and more. I think they listened. I think they just stole Hulu's version, and then they were like, "Wait a minute, we got to do them right."
I do like the idea of like maybe the most efficient way to get these 4:3 original versions is they had to hunt down like a hard drive. I just like to imagine a real person in like a real office just trying to locate a physical object to give people like the streaming versions that they want. They're like, I know it's here somewhere. Where is it? I labeled it. It was here last year. I don't know where I put it. And, you know, I just find it funny that there's like some sort of scavenger hunt to give people what they want.
Come to find out, it was in his back jeans pocket. He'd washed it 3 days ago, but that flash drive still worked. So,
man, that's got to be a beefy flash drive. But on the technical side of things, animation files are notoriously smaller than live action files. So who knows? It could have spit on a flash drive.
Well,
I just go ahead.
Well, anymore it's all pixel count, so I don't know. But anyway, go on.
But I just wanted to get this out of the way off the top of the show. A lot of craziness happening out in the world. Obviously, it feels weird not to mention it at all. But like we always do on this show, I think we like to treat it as like an escape. You know, if things are really stressful right now in your life, you know, lots of avenues attacking you right now. Just, you know, you can take a step back at least for an hour, kind of enjoy us talking about relatively meaningless stuff, you know, decompress and then get back out into the world and fight the good fight. So just wanted to let everybody know we're out there, we're supporting you in the ways that we can.
Yeah, exactly. And you know, honestly, we may be more frustrating than real life sometimes, but you know, we try. We try.
We do our best over here.
Yeah, I've heard people yell at us through this all the time, so that's fun. I enjoyed that. Thank you for listening, and all the comments and the people who comment on all of our stuff. You know, if you want to leave a comment anytime during this, anywhere at all, let us know. Just do it. Tag us.
Yeah. Shout out to what is it, Lumina Orcus over on YouTube who gave us like a full block of text.
Yeah, and it was over the Snyder Cut, and you know, a lot of people. I know a lot of people in the superhero community are very divided. DC Marvel people, but he was very civil about it, and I really appreciated his input and feedback. So
you know, all kinds of passion is good. You know, as long as your passion doesn't hurt anybody, it's not bad. So I love seeing the feedback.
Yeah, Snyder Cut, Ayer Cut. I mean, you know,
well, I don't know. Maybe the Ayer Cut doesn't need all that passion. Maybe I'll make some caveats.
Give me the Trank Cut of Fantastic Four, Mike. I'll watch it again. No, I won't. I won't watch it again. I will always remember the time Mike got burned by the extended edition of Batman v Superman.
I paid for that. Yeah. I paid for that.
Yeah, it was and then we had to talk about it. Two review episodes on pretty much the same movie across the board. But this week, you know, we are good because we are in a interesting spot in the world, Mike, because we have a lot of good content to choose from now. And I have been watching and been trying to push on to you and everybody else I can talk to the Mandalorian documentary on Disney Plus. It's currently a weekly series. What are we on? 4 or 5? Maybe?
Yeah, I think so. 5, because episode 4 was the technology episode.
Yes, and Mikey, you got to watch that this week, I believe, for the first time as well.
Ooh, it was awesome. I mean, we talked about kind of the technology behind the show a little bit with the kind of the interactive display, the volume, whatever it is that they call it, because they had like a little Mandalorian like behind the scenes video a few months back, but this was like a full 30 minutes dedicated to this piece of technology.
And let me tell you, that video wall is only a fraction of the cool stuff they did for this show. I mean, we talk about, they got the video walls, but not also, like, when they showed this, I don't want to ruin anything, but, like, you got to see it to believe it. The camera, when Jon Favreau worked on The Lion King, he took that VR technology he shot that in and applied it to this show. So the cameras have this VR parallax effect, and when they point them at the screen in real time, the background changes based on where the focal point is, and that's just a mind-blowing kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, they do a really good job explaining it, but it's still so cutting edge that my mind still can't wrap my head around it. Because it's just like the camera is like living inside of a real-time video game. So it's like the camera is like a first-person video game character, but the camera is also viewing people in real life at the same time. So it's like the camera is actually recording a television screen, and there's a person in between it, but also that television screen is updating in live. I thought one of the cooler shots was when they had like a behind-the-scenes camera on set, just kind of recording them filming something, and you could kind of see the parallax shift on the screen, whereas like you don't really notice that, when you're watching the show, because you don't have the context of the screen and the rafters and everything around it, and like the little black clips that hold thing up, and it's just like, it's just really cool. And even when they have what's his face on top of the broken TIE fighter, and he's kind of looking over the landscape, they have to put like a normal green screen behind him because it's still a little too high. It was really cool. I also like the thing where they kind of talked about like, we would go try to like lean on something on set. We'd try to move a physical prop, but then we'd get confused and we'd go and touch a TV screen and it wasn't real. So. I mean, we're probably maybe 10 or 15 years away until this is probably standard in a mall somewhere, and we can actually go experience it in real life.
Yeah, I can't wait for the mall music video scene to come back with this kind of technology. You go film your own music video.
Oh, yeah, that's not a bad idea.
Yeah, I think it's there. And what's cool also about it is, I didn't realize there was a ceiling above everything. And what was the fun parts is when they're filming the space stuff with the stars, and how they had that move, and how, I don't know if they talked about in this one or in the one after, which is actually about practical effects in this, because there's a lot of practical effects, is that, they studied George's stuff from A New Hope, and a little bit about Return to the Empire, but like mostly A New Hope, and how he made space move, and how they imitated that in this show to feel into that Star Wars world. So, which has been a fun time, and so I recommend it to anyone who's not watched it yet. I think there's like 3 more, but man, this show is just awesome.
Yeah,
on all.
It's very motivational. Any sort of like behind the scenes stuff when it comes to creating any sort of art, will really motivate you. I was watching that technology episode, and I was just like, what do I have to do to like do that for a living? Like, do I need to go back to school? Should I just download the Unreal Engine and see if I can kind of like mess around a little bit? I really like the YouTube channel Corridor Digital. They have a second channel called the Corridor Crew, which I think is actually almost more popular than their main channel now. They do a lot of VFX artists react and stuff like that, but they're out here in LA, so they're quarantined just like everybody else. But they're also dabbling in kind of like this Unreal Engine, like virtual set type of thing. So it's starting to already trickle down to just kind of like normal consumers just on normal desktop computers. So they did a fun little thing where they were doing like virtual characters, and it all looks kind of janky because they're just kind of whipping things out real quick. But it's cool that it's already starting to proliferate down past Hollywood big budgets.
Yeah, and the other thing is, again, we VR sets are very, very affordable. I was looking at the Oculus Quests, I think, or the portable one the other day, and it's like $150, $200. And there's a PlayStation application called Dreams. I don't know if you've heard of this. People have been recreating classic video games or scenes in this game Dreams. Like, it's games within games, and people are just making these, which is fantastic. So I expect that to really take off and do some stuff with that.
What else is also really fascinating, like I never would have thought like face unlock that came with phones was going to lead to all of this face capturing technology. Like with the Unreal Engine, there's a companion phone app that you can download. I would assume that there's probably some licenses or some sort of connection that you have to do. I don't have it, but I saw it online. Where you can hold...
The Unreal Engine is free until you make like $1 million, I think.
Oh, yeah, that's right. So maybe the app is free. Basically, what I was trying to say is I don't know how to use it.
Yeah.
But it uses the IR blaster on your phone, so it will capture your face acting live, and it will send it to your 3D modeled character. And depending on how well you have it rigged, you can just like already start animating like a 3D character. It's just really crazy how consumer friendly all of this stuff is now, and you don't even have to leave your quarantined studio apartment if you want to start making like the next Pixar film.
Well, it's funny you say that because literally everything that we've seen so far. Have you seen the Disney sing-alongs on Disney Plus yet?
No, not yet.
Okay, that did you see the latest episode of Tiger King where they did the interviews?
Yes.
Okay, so all these producers are sending everyone, even from Disney to Tiger King, iPhones and AirPods. Because the iPhone camera and the AirPod quality is baseline good enough to work across all this stuff. And these are things you can go pick up off a shelf today. Yeah. Add in the camera, the face sensor. The new iPad Pro has LiDAR detection for complete AR, VR immersion. So like this technology is literally stuff you can just go buy off a shelf now. And that's fantastic. So.
Yeah, and to tie it back into the Mandalorian documentary, in that technology episode, they named one of the chapters George's Garage, because George Lucas was always talking about how eventually this technology, people are going to be able to make these movies like in their own garage. And they were right. They were saying that George was thinking about this whole setup that they're running now on Mandalorian like years ago, but that just wasn't feasible. It wasn't possible. He had to do green screen. So it's kind of nice having this post-mortem view of the prequels through kind of George's mind. It's just like, he didn't really nail down the acting. Maybe the story wasn't told in the most compelling way, but man, he was a forward-thinking son of a bitch, that's for sure.
Yeah.
So, and it's cool that even though he has totally sold Star Wars off to Disney, that he still can go to set, because everybody who's working on Star Wars, I'm not saying George Lucas would be banned from ever going to these sets, but everyone's such a fan of him still, they're just like, hell yeah, you can walk on any movie set you want on the entire planet. You don't have to be invited, you can just walk on. People love him.
Well, he's revered, and simply because George was also a world creator. He built the world of Star Wars, and not necessarily the movies. But you hear Dave Filoni talk about him and how he admires him, and how much do we love Dave Filoni and what he does.
Oh, Dave Filoni, he's our bro now.
Yeah, well, now that he's got a face out there, right? He's not just a name on a screen somewhere. He's directing live action. I think that's just really awesome. And that brings me to my next thing. It's not on this list, Mike. I finally started watching Avatar: The Last Airbender.
Yes! Yay! Round of applause, everybody.
Yeah, thank you.
I would say pull over in your cars and round of applause, but no one's driving anywhere right now. So.
Yeah, and if you are, just don't. It's fine. Just do it. Think about it in your head. And on the first 2 episodes, that's as far as I've got, because I was like, I had low quality versions. I had to get the high quality versions, Mike. Nice. Dave Filoni is the director of both of those intro episodes, so I can feel this is early Star Wars, his early Star Wars work in here already, like how he's built the characters in the world and their interaction. Yeah. So
sometimes it's hard to recommend kind of like young kid, or I guess older kid friendly cartoons to adults, because you're never really sure how they're going to take it, because you're telling these themes for a much younger audience. But yeah, once you kind of get into the whole world building mythology of just Avatar, it's just all engrossing and so much fun. And then Sokka's just hilarious. I love that character.
Yeah. So I'm working my way through that. Like I said, 2 episodes in. Some other stuff I was watching this week. I was able to catch up on Prop Culture, a couple more episodes of that show. Have you started that yet?
I keep forgetting to watch it because it sounds right up my alley.
Yeah. This week I watched at least Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, and if you've been missing Rick Moranis, he is in there. So if you want to go check you some Rick Moranis out, that's the episode to watch.
Rick Moranis, he's the man.
Yeah, he is way less goofy in person than he is in his movie roles. So that's a little disappointing there all around. But that's it. The stuff I watched the rest of the week is actually later in our notes, Mike. But go ahead and tell us. You've been on a quarantine stream yet again. What's up with it? Yes,
that's right. Come on over to my quarantine stream corner as I show off my wares to all of you. The biggest thing to tell everybody to watch is, I know I've been dunking on Apple Plus for a while on this show, saying nobody's watching it. And still, nobody I know has really been watching Apple Plus. I think some people might apprehensively have the service after like buying an iPhone, but no one's really talking about Apple originals. But thanks to Chris's streaming service, which I am subscribed to, one of few users that's allowed to use it, I was finally able to watch Mythic Quest: Raven's Banquet. I'll get the whole title in there for you, from the basically the crew that made Always Sunny in Philadelphia, made this show about what's it like for a company that makes basically World of Warcraft. And I have to say, the whole concept really turned me off when I heard about the show, because I'm just like, how many times have I seen like a sitcom, a TV show, or a movie do their best to kind of show what it's like to make a video game, and they always like just get the total workplace culture like just totally wrong. But I feel like this show really gets it. There's a great just kind of standalone isolated episode about halfway through the season that just kind of really shows you what the early version of the video game industry was like. And all the characters are really funny. It gets a little dicey sometimes with what they think their video game actually does, because it's presented as like an MMO, like a World of Warcraft style of game, where there's expansion packs and there's loot and there's spells and all this stuff. But then they kind of branch off into gameplay mode that sometimes looks like Street Fighter, which, those two just don't go together. But, you can overlook some of that stuff just because the story's good, the characters are great. And also, they had a 9-episode first season, but then they came back like 2 weeks ago, unbeknownst to me, for a 10th quarantine. Not quarantine. Hey, that's my trademark. They did a quarantine pandemic episode where it all happened over webcams. But I thought this worked really, really well because we saw Parks and Rec do it. We saw Community do a table read, which was kind of different. But this was great, kind of, because it all worked. I mean, this is how a video game company is probably actually operating right now. They're all doing it through FaceTime or Zoom calls, and it was all really, really funny. So props to Raven's Quest and the crew and all the creatives over there. So I can finally officially recommend a Apple Plus show. So I think this was renewed for a second season, like before the first. I think all of the Apple Plus shows are renewed for like a second season before the service even launched. So I'm happy to see more of Mythic Quest. So if anybody out there is going to be buying like a new iPhone, you got something waiting for you over there on that streaming service. But Chris, you have all the episodes now. I think you need to watch it.
Yeah, I mean it was a request. Are they 22-minute episodes or hour-long episodes?
No, they're half-hour episodes. Okay. I would say, the pilot is very much a pilot. You kind of got to move past it a little bit. Things really start the tires really start kicking on episode 2. So I can recommend Mythic Quest.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I have it, so I could watch it.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So we'll move on over to move 15 degrees inside of my quarantine corner. We'll see the next movie poster, and that is for Uncut Gems, which has finally landed on Netflix. It's been on Netflix International for like a long time now. So now us here in the United States, you can finally stream it for free. If you want to see Adam Sandler not act like a doofus, kind of like for the first time in your life, he does a really good job at it. He plays this kind of like this scummy, just gambling addicted jewelry merchant, and it's really intense. Pretty shocking ending, and overall I would recommend it if you just kind of want to see a study in just tension. You just feel like really uncomfortable during the whole movie, but that's kind of what they were going for. I thought one thing that I thought was pretty funny that might make people a little bit more interested in the film. The movie just came out last year, but the movie is technically a period piece, and it's set in like 2012, I believe. So the whole time we're watching this movie, I'm like, why is this movie set in 2012? They go out of their way to kind of show older iPhones with large bezels on them and like older ear pods. And I'm just like, why does this have to be set in 2012? Well, I looked it up. And the production of the movie was delayed, and they had to push it to film it during NBA season. And the movie stars Kevin Garnett. So what they had to do is they had to hire basically a retired basketball player, because all of the basketball players were playing, in the current season. So it was like, well, we can hire Kevin Garnett to be our basketball player, but he's retired. So we have to set the movie in 2012, so it makes sense that he's still playing basketball. So I thought that was a pretty funny touch. So if you're curious why the movie takes place in 2012, that's why. So I thought that was pretty funny. Creative problem solving. That's what I like to see in Hollywood.
Got to do it in the writer's room.
Yes, gonna do it there. So yeah, go check out Uncut Gems. It's free if you got Netflix. On to the second to last item for the list. We got Rami season 2. I think I mentioned the first season of Rami last year on the podcast.
I don't remember what it is. Give me an overview.
It's a Hulu series from A24. You know, the production house that usually kind of does these like.
Did they do Uncut Gems?
Yeah, actually they did actually. So there you go. There's a perfect transition. So Rami season 2, it's about this kind of like mid-20 something Muslim guy that lives in New York City, and all of his friends are just kind of like going through life trying to balance being Muslim and also trying to be like a modern person with, you know, all of the amenities that life presents us. It kind of sounds strange. It feels like, are you trying to tell me to watch this religious show? And like that's not how it is. It's actually really really funny. So I'd recommend Rami if you kind of just want to watch something outside of maybe a perspective that you're used to. It's like written, directed, performed all by, you know, people that are Muslim, so you get like this really authentic look of what it's like to kind of be Muslim living in America. And I've learned a couple things and I've laughed along the way, Chris. So okay. I would recommend Rami over on Hulu. It's really good.
So it's a comedy.
Yes, it's a comedy for sure. And then finally, this will dovetail into HBO Max a little bit later into the show. But I was finally able to watch Craig of the Creek, which is a Cartoon Network show, which landed on HBO Max, and it's really really fun. It's got a really kind of addictive. What's the music style I'm thinking of? It's got like the trombones and the trumpets and the guitars. It's like it's like kind of like ska music.
Like
yeah,
ska?
That's what it is. Yeah. They kind of like a ska-esque intro, so it's like really addictive, and it's just about these kids that go hang out at the creek after school, and that's just they have all this whole creek life around them. So it's really fun. Terry Crews voices the father, at least very briefly in the pilot. I don't know if that continues on throughout the series or not. So that was cool to see Terry Crews because I love that guy. So yeah, if you just needed like a lighthearted thing that maybe you want to share with your kids, go watch Craig of the Creek. It was really fun. I'm only like 4 episodes in, but it was right up my alley because, you know, when you don't grow up in a city, I think, Chris, you and I kind of both grew up in rural areas. Mm-hmm. You much more rural than me.
Yes.
All you really had was kind of what was around your house when you got out of school, and sometimes that was just the woods in your backyard or the creek down the road, and you just kind of made your own little adventure. So kind of brought me back to that time watching Craig of the Creek.
Okay. Well, that sounds like and that's on HBO Max?
Yes, that is on HBO Max underneath the Cartoon Network little tab, little circle, whatever user interface you're using for HBO Max. I know it's not Roku user interface, so you're going to have to wait for that.
We'll talk about all those later. We got a big HBO Max section. So let's go ahead and jump into some potentialities here. We were talking about George Lucas at the top of the show, and actually our first topic covers George Lucas himself. So there was the Star Wars Underworld show. You remember we talked about this? We saw some footage that they filmed a while back. Apparently, this series, he had like 100 scripts, and they didn't film anything, but it had no budget constraints. Could you imagine a Star Wars live-action show with no budget constraints?
Especially back then. There is some behind-the-scenes stuff for that production that's out there online, so if you kind of want to see how they arrange the sets, and now that you bring it up, I'm recalling what that looked like, and that kind of looked like the Mandalorian set. Obviously, without the fancy TVs, it was just a big green room. They had like props like sitting down. They had characters in costume, and that meant that they were going to do probably the exact same production pipeline as they did in the prequels for a TV show. And God, I can only imagine how expensive that would have been back then.
Yeah, well, the CG work has become, like you said, consumer friendly at the top of the show, and now back then it wasn't. Like that's a whole studio or multiple studios doing all the effects for a TV show, and I would have loved to see that, but at the same time, I don't think that would have aged very well.
Yeah, because back then, you really had to find creative ways to cut corners. You know, there wouldn't have been a whole lot of CG aliens, or if they were, they would be like merchants, and you would only see them from like the torso up behind a counter. They would never walk out from behind it. So, you know, maybe it is for the best that we kind of waited until we could really pull it off. Because, you know what they did in the meantime when they couldn't do that? They gave us things like the Clone Wars and animated stuff, which turned out really good, and they didn't really have to worry about mixing live action with CG.
And I think we've talked about this before. When you give a director no budget constraints, bad things happen. You know, you let the idea of like, I can do anything, get in the way of like, how do I solve a problem in filmmaking, right? So you give them a budget, they have to film in that constraints, and you can get really creative and really awesome things out of that. So I think, an unhinged director can come out of an refined or unfined box there. So thankfully, I think I'm thankful we didn't get it, but I think these scripts still have an opportunity to possibly come into like maybe a digital thing, like an animated version, or possibly rewritten into smaller seasons like The Mandalorian.
I think the weirdest thing about it, I thought it was like scheduled or slated for CBS, which I think is just really funny to imagine like a Star Wars show on CBS, the home of like the Big Bang Theory. So I just find that humorous.
Yeah, and CBS, well, I think it would have been Fox, right? Because Fox owns Star Wars.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it really just depends on who wants to pay for it, because I think Big Bang Theory isn't even technically a CBS property. I think it's NBC owned, or is it Warner Brothers since it's on HBO Max? Who knows anymore, Chris?
Yeah.
You need spreadsheets to understand Hollywood now.
Yeah, there's a lot of contracts we don't get to see, and it's going to make some guesswork. But speaking of contracts and guesswork, we always wonder how long will people stay in the MCU, right? We're always worried about when will Spider-Man go back to Sony because they've done something stupid. But no worries here. J.K. Simmons has signed up for multiple Spider-Man films in the MCU specifically.
Look at that, J.K. Simmons. I wonder if he has fond memories of being J. Jonah Jameson in the original Spider-Man movies. Like, I mean, obviously I shouldn't just make judgments on J.K. Simmons, but he doesn't seem like much of a nerdy guy. But who knows? He could have grown up reading Spider-Man comics. It just seems like he really enjoys playing in the Spider-Man universe if he wants to go ahead and jump back on the bandwagon again as the same character.
Right, and he it's one of those things where if you try to cast, again right now, an older Professor Xavier, how do you replace Captain Jean-Luc Picard, Patrick Stewart, how do you, what does that look like? He defined that role for so long, and then we had James McAvoy do the younger version, but he was younger, right? That's fine, but like how do you go from J.K. Simmons there to J.K. Simmons again? Like, even the video game for Spider-Man didn't even put a face to him. They just made him a voice because you're like, what do we do? We can't outdo J.K. Simmons in this role.
I mean, I did briefly like the rumor that was floated 2 years ago that J.B. Smoove might be J.K. Simmons. I thought that could have been pretty funny, a nice way to kind of pivot when you can't have J.K. Simmons anymore. But I guess we can have our cake and eat it too, as long as this doesn't make nerds feel like entitled. There will have to be a new Wolverine eventually, and it just can't be Hugh Jackman anymore.
Right.
We can't bring back everybody to reprise these characters because age, life, time, it keeps moving. So I think it's great that J.K. Simmons can come back, but eventually he can't be J.K. Simmons for eternity.
Right. Well, here's the thing: he's such an ancillary character, or at least was in Far From Home. Like, he was essentially the post-credits scene reveal. But the MCU, I don't think they've ever reused any characters from the other movies or any other franchises so far. So this is a first, but I don't think it's a trend-setting kind of thing, because Simmons is such a, J. Jonah Jameson is such an ancillary character. They can never reference him in the next movie, and it'd be fine. To be completely honest, that's how little he affected the story. So, but I'm glad he is back because he does have that that strong performance of being a for lack of a better term, like a very active political person against Spider-Man in the news world. So
he's just like this old newsman. He just really nails it. I mean, if it's not broke, don't fix it, I guess. Yeah. I hope he's getting paid well, because he deserves it. Yeah,
exactly. And I hope to even if he did just voiceovers for the next movie, I think that'd be fine too.
What? Speaking of older white actors, I know this is a very bizarre segue, but we kind of decided to perform some self-harm here in the Royer household when we watched The Core on Amazon Prime, which is the awful sci-fi movie of restarting the Earth's core with nuclear bombs, because that's what happens in sci-fi. If something's broken, you nuke it, and that'll usually fix it. Much like the sun in Sunshine, they also use a nuke. But I forgot that Stanley Tucci is in The Core, and I really love Stanley Tucci, and I would love it if maybe they could find a place for him in an MCU movie at some point in time. But, I mean, he was briefly in Transformers.
He was literally the linchpin in the first Avenger. He he played the doctor who gave Captain America the serum.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
but he dies in like the first act. Find a way to
no, he doesn't die in the first act. He dies about halfway through. But I did. My wife's has been on a Hunger Games kick because the new book came out, the prequel. And both of the on-air presenters are Toby Jones and Stanley Tucci, and they were both in Captain America. Was Arnim Zola and the Doctor.
Yeah.
So
I mean, come on, they bring back Zola as a computer, bring back Tucci as something. I don't know, make him a zombie. I don't care.
they could definitely not make him an old Jewish scientist, and probably make him like how he is now. And,
I feel silly because once you started to pipe up in the middle of my Stanley Tucci MCU thing, I was just like, oh no, wait a minute. It's kind of like when a character in a movie starts their memory starts to come back and their cloudy visions start to clear, and I was like, wait a minute, Stanley Tucci in glasses in the 1940s. Oh wait, he was in Captain America, wasn't he?
Well, as soon as you start saying that, I'm like, he forgot that one movie. Again, that's been like 10 years now, so it's easily forgettable.
Bring back Tucci. Let's make that a hashtag.
Yeah.
Release the
Tucci cut. Yeah, there we go. Jinx. But speaking of characters that have had a lasting impression in the MCU and bringing back, Loki is getting his own TV show, despite, in fact, being killed in Infinity War very early on. And the show could be confirmed for 2 seasons here. We've had reports that the first season is 6 episodes, which is it's par for the Disney Plus streaming shows. But Tom Hiddleston has mentioned to other people that he's being committed to 12 episodes for this show. So do you think like they've already like, hey, we're going to try to film 2 back to back pretty quickly to get a turnaround with you, or?
I think it seems likely that there'll be 2 seasons, just because, if you have Tom Hiddleston committed, you might as well pump out 2, and it seems like maybe they're pulling an Apple Plus here and just, renewing everything before it even airs, because I'm sure they know it's going to be successful. I mean, it's proper premium, cream of the crop MCU stuff. You can easily make 2 seasons of it and people will watch it. But also, to play devil's advocate, just because, these are just kind of words floating out there in the world, actors kind of get contractually obligated to more than they ever do all the time, just because they want to be like, okay, we're gonna commit you to 12, but we'll start with 6 and see where it goes. I just like the fact that like Tom Hiddleston is like is a real serious theater actor that is just too busy to keep track of seasons and streaming services, so he doesn't realize when he tells people he's committed to 12 episodes, he's just kind of confirmed a second season, because he doesn't know where the show's going or how it's being released, or if it'll come out all 6 episodes at once or 6 weeks in a row. He's just Tom Hiddleston. He's just getting paid and dressing up. So I always like that. I always like to remind people that like actors know like the least about what you want to know about when it comes to the show. They don't really have the deets until they start reading scripts. and
they don't even know then in Marvel, like filming extra scenes, stuff that never makes it, secret scripts. Marvel's very secretive about what they're doing. We don't really know what's happening until it happens. So I totally believe that's the case for this. I think we've also talked about they've had like other production companies with the number 2 for this show already lined up. So I think the first one they solved the time crisis, and then the second one would be some sort of other Loki journey I'd love to chase down. So
yeah, maybe some sort of final wrap up, because it seems like you killed Tom Hiddleston proper in the MCU. It kind of seems like it's time to wrap up his character, give him a little bit of a final arc here in this alternate timeline. Maybe he did find redemption in
Infinity War.
In Infinity War.
In Ragnarok,
I always forget the title of that. Sacrificing himself to save his brother.
Well, someone called me out last week. I called it End War instead of Infinity War and Endgame. I was like, it could be Infinity Game, but
hey,
no,
there is audio software out there now where we could just go in and just have an algorithm fix that for us.
Yeah, but why do that? I'd rather someone tell me I'm wrong than
you get all the nooks and crannies with us. You get all the cracks and imperfections every week.
Do you ever? As I work off my laptop for the first time in like a year for this, so. But yeah, Loki, two seasons. I think that's fine. I think two's good. At that point he'll be in the MCU 15 years, or so. So I think everyone needs a chance to wrap up their MCU stuff and take a bow, and that would be a good time for him. Speaking of Disney Plus, Mike, big news for everybody: The Simpsons, the classic show that's like on season 30 or something. I don't know at this point. is now in the correct aspect ratios for the classic episodes.
Finally, no more cut off jokes being stretched to widescreen. My favorite part about this is because I'll do a little complaining about user interface here in a couple topics, but there's a nice little toggle button inside of the Disney Plus app that lets you turn off the quote-unquote remastered widescreen edition that they're touting of what widescreen is, so you can finally watch it in its intended 4:3 aspect ratio. And if you're curious why they don't just have a 16:9 version laying around somewhere, when you animate something, you only animate exactly what you have to. No one out there was animating the extra left and right side of the screen just in case in the future it would be 16:9. So I'm just glad the original crop exists and I can watch how the good Lord intended.
Yeah, and this is one of my biggest complaints with Hulu. They have all of Seinfeld on Hulu, right? But they have the HD, the 1080, but it is in fact / pan scan cropped. And I'm like, I'd rather watch a low res version and see the whole screen than watch this trash. I get it. You want a high def version, but high def the whole thing and just leave the black bars. People know. They're not dumb. They get it. TV shows up until 2005 or even later didn't even know what a 16:9 screen is. They were just like 4:3. This is every TV in every household. This is safe space. Yeah. Play it like this. So.
It's like you're a streaming service. You rent or own an ungodly amount of servers. Just put up a new rack and throw up the original version and just let us have the option. Good Lord, man.
Yeah, go download it off a torrent site. Someone has it for you already. You don't have to do the work.
Yeah, you have given Jerry Seinfeld so much money. Get the money's worth. Put that second version up.
Yeah. Let people have the choice of what they want to watch it in. So
exactly.
So Simpsons is now up to par on that. I think a lot of people will be happy. Some people may not even know. So it can go either way.
It is kind of funny, though, how the 4:3 aspect ratio is awkwardly stuck in between the two most popular ratios right now. You can't really stretch it to 16:9, but if you wanted to crop it to make it a square, like for Instagram, you still lose a little bit on the left and right. So actually, it's more intended to be cropped, I would say, for a square. So it's kind of nice if you follow any Instagram fan accounts for any old cartoons or old sitcoms. If you watch those videos, you're kind of getting closer to the original ratio than if you're watching it on a high budget streaming service.
Well, what's crazy is YouTube, I don't know if you've noticed this, if you upload a different ratio of video, it actually crops this player to the ratio of the video.
Yeah, which is kind of bizarre sometimes because you'll load a page and be like, wait, the comments are very, very high now.
Yeah, exactly. It's really super wide, like cinema scale, or it's tall, like a video, like a phone video. So they tend to, they've got a really good player for that. So if someone else can just adapt that player and make it responsive, go for it.
Yeah,
that's what we say. Mulan, the movie, I've seen a trailer for it. I don't remember, I don't know if I want to watch this movie or not, Mike. Has a potential again for straight to digital release for this movie. Disney said they would be happy to make 50% of a normal $1 billion average summer movie on this one.
Wow.
I think it cost $200,000 to make, or $200 million to make, and they want $500 million.
Yeah, I mean, we kind of talk about this straight to digital stuff quite often on the show, and it always kind of circles back around to I feel like lawyers. Everybody kind of has to reach out to every single person who's in the film that has any sort of contractual thing to theater release, like any sort of profit sharing. So they're just like, hey, you know what we're going through. It's probably going to be a while till this hits theater, and even when it does go to theater, it could have a lukewarm reception. How about we go ahead and we'll either give you a percentage of the VOD sales, or we'll just go ahead and buy out that part of the contract. We'll just give you a lump sum right now just so we can get this movie out there. You're a working actor. You want your face out there in the screen so you can make your next deal. You want to make sure you're staying in the public interest. So, yeah, I would imagine it's just not as simple as let's just drag the file away from the movie theater server and drag it to the video on demand server. There's a lot of I's to dot before that can happen.
It wouldn't be VOD, I guess. It would be the paid digital, I think, is what they're looking for.
Yeah, I think that's still technically considered video on demand.
Yeah. Whatever it is, they're not putting it on Disney Plus. They're putting it on pay first, because they're like, okay, people will pay for digital movies, right? Piracy is less of a problem now than it ever was because there are all these legal ways to watch these movies. So they're like, put it on iTunes, put it on Amazon, put it on Google, wherever people can pay for this. let's go ahead and give them the option to pay now and start making some money off this.
It would just be so funny if Mulan hits the digital marketplace and New Mutants doesn't. And it's just like, what movie out of those two deserves a digital marketplace release? It's New Mutants. So we'll keep reading the tea leaves and waiting to see what happens.
Oh, no. I mean, New Mutants has to hit theaters. We talked about this with the contracts for the Fox merger. And then, like I said, it can't even go to Disney+. It has to go to HBO first for an indeterminate period of time. So this is wild. I think if Mulan went to digital first, I have a higher chance of watching it than going to the theater. I think you might be the same. Probably.
Yeah, I mean, this is kind of more the Royer household in general, but we're probably not going really anywhere until we are totally safe from this pandemic. So, yeah, I don't think there's going to be any movie theater attending in the year 2020.
Take that off. If everything was normal, I would still say this is not a movie theater.
Yeah.
Like if everything was normal, I'm like, I'd probably still watch it on digital first.
I mean, like, geez, I was pretty much dragged to Beauty and the Beast, and I think that's the only kind of Disney movie I've seen in theaters. Kind of, the
live action
recreations. Yeah.
Yeah. So we'll keep forward. We'll keep looking at that. See if they release something this summer, because Disney's got to put something out to make money. Like, they can't just keep putting it on Disney Plus, even though it is getting good stuff.
Did you see their plans for opening their parks? They're like reducing capacity. Everyone's got to get their temperature checked before they come in. Like, no one's going to be able to like touch stuff, or I don't even know how it's going to work. It almost just seems like it would just be losing money. Like, how much money does it cost to just turn the park on every morning? It seems like you got to have more attendance than like half of the park. So, yeah.
But also at the same time, they have to be. I mean, I think legally they have to be covered for like if something happens and they're sued because of that. Like, I don't think insurance covers that kind of thing.
Yeah, I'm not saying I don't think they should open up at all, but I mean, I guess Disney's gonna find a way to make money. I mean, when I was watching the Disneyland documentary, the Disney Park documentary, when Disney Plus launched last year, they just kept talking about, like, everyone was always surprised that the Disney parks were like such a big revenue generator. Everyone always thinks of Disney as like Mickey Mouse or Marvel now, or their properties or their movies or their merchandise, but man, their parks bring in so much revenue.
Have you seen how much a Coke costs there, Mike? Of course it's all profit. I can buy that same Coke down the street, 69 cents, right out of a vending machine. Over there, it's like $20.
But it doesn't come in a collectible cup that you drink out of a crazy, wacky straw.
We are redoing our floors. I emptied my pantry out, found all my classic cups from Disney in that pantry in the back. So I loved it. I like the Disney experience, Mike. I'm not gonna lie. I'm a shill for that kind of thing. So sign me up for it. Are you going to watch Doom Patrol ever at all? Maybe? No?
Well, it seems to be one of the few DC Universe options available on HBO Max, so maybe it's my only option.
Yeah, it is the only DC Universe show on here. So I've actually got it pulled up right now on HBO Max. So hear me type. I don't know if they have season 1, but I know season 2, it looks like season 1 is already on here. Yeah, so if you want to watch all of Doom Patrol and you don't have DC Universe, guess what? It's on HBO Max, but it is the only show off of that streaming service that'll be on here, according to their content manager.
Oh, man. I think this is a great segue to kind of jump right into the HBO Max news, because I have so much to say about only Doom Patrol being available, and it all goes into talking about HBO Max.
All right. So just in case you want a Doom Patrol Season 1's on HBO Max, Season 2 will be there. But HBO Max has officially launched, Mike. We're looking at it. We both had it pulled up before this because we're confused as hell, but that's a different story. This is only on select platforms. I've talked to several highly disappointed Roku users.
Me
this
being
week.
One of them.
Mike is the primary one. Listener superfan Jim sent me a message. So he and both you, I believe, are the only options you have right now are to watch it on your PlayStation 4s.
Yep, or if I wanted to watch it on my phone, that's a possibility too, because the iOS and Android marketplaces are very obvious. You got to launch on those.
Yeah, and you have web versions, as we both said. So they have that. However, I caught this little bit here. It's not available in the United Kingdom for at least the next 5 years.
Oh my
so
gosh.
I apologize to any UK person listening to this, but let me tell you what. You're not missing out on a lot of original content here.
Or you might not be missing out, but it still could be very confusing to begin with, because I'm not trying to float our own boat here, but we're pretty savvy. Yeah. We've been doing this podcast for a while. We try to keep track of all of these different licenses, all of these different properties, who owns what, where's it at, where's it going, and even us, it's like hard and confusing to figure out. I can't even imagine what it's like just being like my mother, if my parents wanted to like just stream HBO Max, because you got HBO Go, you got HBO Now, you got HBO Max, you got DC Universe, and it's just like they're all literally owned by AT&T. The mega corporation AT&T owns all these properties, but they still cannot legally get it all under one roof right now.
Yeah.
Now, Disney had a similar problem when they launched, but I don't know if they strategically waited long enough, or if maybe they didn't piecemeal out a lot of their stuff as much before they launched. So they had, I would say, a larger percentage of their catalog ready to go under one service.
And we'd known about that for 2 years at least. They've been working on it and getting contracts either completed or possibly even paid off with some of the Disney money. Now HBO, not so much. It looks like they're borrowing a lot of content here, if I could be honest. The Big Bang Theory is one. I don't think it belongs to them, but it's on here somehow.
Yeah, and it's a little confusing trying to figure out what they do on, like you said, or what they're releasing. Like in their user interface, you can kind of go under each of their brands and kind of see what's streaming under there. Now, if you go underneath the Turner Classic Movies to see what's streaming under Turner Classic Movies, that's just really confusing to begin with, because Turner Classic Movies doesn't make classic movies. Yeah. They license classic movies and they just air them on television. So how does Turner Classic Movies even work on a streaming service? That just mean they have the streaming rights to show these old movies? And if you're browsing through the catalog, it's really strange. If you're browsing through the Turner Classic Movie catalog, you do see these classic movies in the list, but then you also just come across what's labeled as just an HBO movie, like that's in the list. So it's just all very confusing about what goes where. Like, why are you showing, like, are they just saying like, oh, well, this is a Turner Classic Movie, but it also just happens to be in the HBO catalog, so we're just trying to let you know? It is just so confusing.
Yeah, well, what's cool is I do like Turner Classic Movies, and it is confusing, but it is classics curated by them. So it looks like I'm seeing things from Singing in the Rain to Little Shop of Horrors to even down here silent films with a whole Charlie Chaplin section.
All really, really good stuff, but all of that stuff is licensed. So it's not like these things are like owned outright by AT&T. It just, in a couple of years, if that stuff gets licensed by somebody else, you might be watching, My Dinner with Andre on Netflix in a couple of years. It's almost like that category is useless.
Well, I don't think it's useless. I think this is the category my grandpa is going to, right? If anyone above the age of 50 wants to watch a movie, they're like that they remember from their childhood, or I think this is where they would go. I think these are very generic, because what's happening is we talked about these categories, right? HBO, DC, Sesame Street, TCM, Studio Ghibli, Cartoon Network, Adult Swim, Crunchyroll, Looney Tunes. They're at the very bottom of everything you go to. That's the worst case. I think a lot of people are going to either be using search or possibly the Last Chance tab, which is interesting. Like, how do you have a last chance for this thing that just launched this week? These are leaving soon. Why? Why would you do that?
Yeah, it's a really confusing story, because I think some people think that this is like a brand new streaming service, or this is something that AT&T just whipped up from the ground up, when in reality the best way to think about HBO Max is this is HBO juiced up. So everything that was on HBO before is still there, and you can even see it from their technical stack. I didn't have to download any new apps. This is the HBO Now app with a new icon image they added, and they connected new stuff to the library. So nothing went away for HBO users. So yeah, like you said, it's really confusing. You have a what's leaving tab because HBO Now has a what's leaving tab. So it makes sense that stuff is leaving. So it's just, it's all very confusing because they don't have that same brand identity that Disney has. Everybody knows what a Disney thing is, but nobody knows what the hell an AT&T thing is, because the AT&T thing is still relatively new. It's a relatively new acquisition.
But they don't even say that. I mean, the average viewer is not going to think AT&T when they think HBO Max. They're going to think HBO, and they're going to look at this and like, well, some of these say HBO underneath it. Like the Meg says HBO, but like that's not HBO. Like what is Why does Braveheart not say HBO? It's on HBO, is it not? This is a very confusing interface. There's a lot of good content in here, though, Mike. I'm going to tell you, they do have a lot of variety of things, again, from classics to new stuff. You got a lot of Batman movies, the Hobbit movies, the Lego movies are in here. You want to watch Justice League by Joss Whedon and not Zack Snyder? It's in here. Even the last year's Hellboy, Mike, that people hate. They hate to love. They love to hate. But I'll tell you what, this is funny because I'm looking literally right now at 8 or 9 DVD cases of Aqua Teen Hunger Force. With my cup, I waited in line at San Diego Comic-Con to buy at the Adult Swim booth. I spent most of my time just watching the Adult Swim Aqua Teen stuff. But we talked about it right before the show. Not every Adult Swim show is on here.
Yeah, and I do like that they did make an Adult Swim category. I am thinking into the future, and I know this service will fill out after time, because HBO Max will legally own some of these categories, and some of the stuff will never leave it once it comes back. But yeah, when you do go to the Adult Swim tab, it does seem pretty lackluster, just because there's only literally I think 8 or 12 things. So you scroll and then it's done. You scrolled, you made one thumb swipe and you've seen the entire Adult Swim catalog.
Well, exactly. There's the featured series, right? And you're like, okay, these are the feature ones. There's obviously more. No, that's it. Yeah, the feature ones are the ones that are in here. So you've got classics like Space Ghost or home movies, or even new ones like Primal, and Samurai Jack. So I think it's got some good stuff in here. The movie choices are pretty good. I'm very happy with some of the stuff. But there are some stuff that was promised to be on here that was not.
Yeah, it's very shady.
Yeah, so Batman Begins and The Dark Knight Rises aren't on here.
They're in the promo. They're in the sizzle reel. You see Nolan's Batman throwing punches. He is not available to stream.
Right. Well, the Matrix movies, Blade Runner, Doctor Strangelove, Annie Hall, Lethal Weapon, even Mask of the Phantasm, which was an animated movie that I've never got to watch yet. It's in there. Snakes on a Plane, Mike. Classic Snakes on a Plane's not on here. It's just they didn't. I don't know what the contracts are. I don't know if the coronavirus COVID-19 pandemic has changed or delayed some of the contracts. I don't know. We don't know that stuff, but they did not deliver on some of this stuff, and I think it's going to be a little bit of a stumble for this. This service is good, and I think it has the opportunity to be great, but it's going to need 6 months before it gets there.
Yeah, they are in contract hell right now, basically. I mean, it's just so weird that the DC Universe streaming app, all of that stuff is not ready to go. I only say that just because the DC Universe streaming app is relatively new. It's only a couple years old. So I'm just surprised that there's no executive who just nobody told him. It's just no, we're making an HBO streaming service. So when you're making these contracts, when you're making these streaming deals, make sure you include HBO Max. So when we launch, we can combine these catalogs. And that didn't happen. So it's just I'm not going to spend any extra money to reach out and get a couple more shows. I know a lot of people out there were excited to watch the Harley Quinn animated series, and that didn't end up coming over. And it seems like they would have tried to push that because that's one of their standout series over there at DC Universe. Seems like that would have been really good for their HBO Max catalog. Yeah,
and having people sign up for both or not offering a bundle for both is another kick in the pants, if you will, for people who want to have all the content, but they can't. I mean, one parent company not giving you all the content. You got to go piecemeal it out a little bit, and that's not very fun.
Yeah, there is one thing that we can ding them on. There's one thing that they have in their control, under their power. It is their user interface, and it is it's as simple as their play button. If you go to the Studio Ghibli category, and you see all these beautiful Miyazaki films, all presented with this nice landing page, this awesome subtle background image at the top, showcasing some of the beautiful backgrounds that Studio Ghibli makes. It's gorgeous, it's beautiful. But when you land on the page, there is no indication anywhere that there's 2 audio tracks for, I think, nearly every film there. They do great English dubs. So if you're like a dub sub, like snob or anything like that, they make great English versions of their movies. So there's nothing that should stop you from watching any Studio Ghibli film. But there's no drop down box. There's nothing letting you know that there's alternate versions in there. You have to click the play button to figure out that it's a toggle button actually, and then it's just incredibly confusing.
Well, yeah, we talked about it. So I click it. So just to let everyone know, you click on to select to begin with, and depending on what your native language is, will be what it is in. Right now, we tried Kiki's delivery service. I'm going to try, what's this, Porco Rosso?
Porco Rosso.
I'm going to click play, and then if it opens up here, it defaults to English for me, and it starts playing immediately. There's a pause button. I pause.
And that's actually a really good example because I've heard people say that the Italian version of Porco Rosso is actually the optimal version to watch that movie in because it takes place in like or it's either Italian or it's either French.
Italy. It takes place in Italy.
It takes place in that kind of countryside, and I guess the Italian voice actor that they have for Porco Rosso is just apparently amazing. So if they had that version, if they have that audio track available, I don't know if they do or not. There's no way to know. There's no like, at least on like. On Netflix, you can kind of drill down and see all the audio tracks available. So at the very least, they can fix this. They can do this on their own. You know, hopefully it doesn't take 6 months like it took Disney Plus to get the 4x3 of The Simpsons. Just go in and tweak your code a little bit.
Well, I mean, Disney Plus has always updated their interface. That's easy enough to do. Getting whole files is a different thing. But this is the confusing part is it'll play automatically your basic language. But on the right, there's literally a play button in Japanese. So if it doesn't start playing automatically, well, you're going to click on the play button, right? And that's going to change it to Japanese for you, and then you're going to be confused. At least even, like, I would even take, again, we use the service Plex, Mike, right? Mm-hmm. They have a great thing where you slide down or slide up from the bottom, and it says, audio, you choose your language right there. Like, that's how everybody else does it, even Disney, even Netflix. Just make it that easy. Like, you don't have to overthink this and say, oh, obviously it's in Japanese as well. Yeah, we know. We know. Give us more English choice or more voice choices if we choose to. Because you can turn on the closed captions on any one of these at any given time. So I've turned it on here, and horns blaring, passengers yelling in panic. Great. So I think, HBO, the interface does need a little work. They should have tested this. They should have been beta test, Mike. It looks like a breed between... the Apple TV interface and Disney Plus's interface and then Hulu's interface. So get a little work. But Mike, there is great news. They have fast-tracked Anna Kendrick's original series on here because of audience demand.
Hey, so, I mean, I haven't gotten around to watching it, but I like Anna Kendrick.
Yeah, I forget what it's called here. Love Life. New episodes every week. So apparently they're accelerating this. I don't know if that means they're going to put out more a week or if they're going to get a second season going. But
they're going to digitally scan all the actors because nobody can film anything yet. So the next season will be all computer generated. It's going to be very strange.
Well, they're going to do a quarantine season, if you will. But I mean, you got people out here slamming their fist down, Mike. We want Kendrick. We want Kendrick. So. Good luck to that. But if anyone's trying HBO Max, it is live. You can go check out the library. I think it's got a good collection. It has potential. It just isn't there.
Yeah. Run over there and watch Teen Titans Go to the movies as fast as you can, because how is that leaving? Where's it going? Warner Brothers owns it. They made it. I mean,
it's a DC streaming service.
I just don't understand, Chris. I just don't understand.
Yeah.
What would be funny if it's technically leaving, but then it's like going over to like Cartoon Network, which just circles back around. So it's leaving, but it's just going under a different tab.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, we watched also this weekend. I watched a lot of the classic Looney Tunes, not the new. Well, I did watch the new Looney Tunes, but I watched the classic Looney Tunes on here. What was it last night? We were talking Fresh Prince of Bel-Air on there, and let me tell you, that stuff is still relevant today. Ironically relevant. So you can go check out some old shows in there that you grew up with. What you can't watch is Zack Snyder's Justice League yet, though. That's coming, Mike. They're threatening. It's turned into a threat, into a promise.
We gotta wait tens of millions of dollars before we can watch the Snyder Cut.
Well, Zack Snyder has graciously presented us with a full color, low res version of Darkseid.
Oh God, very low res. Where did you find this? I can't.
That is his Twitter.
Well, I meant like Zack Snyder himself. Like, come on, like you know how to use editing software. There's a screenshot button in there somewhere.
Yeah, you obviously had modeled this for your movie. Where is the model for this? Don't give us this low res stuff. And it looks, is this maybe the planet of Apocalypse, or is this the Earth battle going on in the scene where they show the history of the world with the Amazonians and the Green Lanterns and everybody's fighting? What's his name? Steppenwolf. Mm-hmm. I don't know where this is going.
Yeah, it's hard to tell. Is he hunting down a mother box? What exactly is happening here?
Yeah, there's a lot of lava and it's very blurry. So we get a look at Darkseid. Great, beautiful, whatever. But someone, I think it was an executive we talked about this week. People have been saying, "Oh, this movie's cost $20 million to make," and he's like, "I wish it only cost $20 million to make." So people at HBO are like, they're not thrilled. It sounds like with this movie, but it does not sound like it's one of those things where they're just giving $20 million to finish it. There's some other stuff that has to be done here.
Yes, this just reinforces the Snyder Cut never existed. It was not finished. You have to pour buckets of money into it to get your Snyder Cut. So there's no conspiracy theory. There's no hard drive on a shelf.
Yeah, exactly. Otherwise, it'd be out tomorrow. And I think the other thing is, what we don't think about, even though this is coming to HBO Max, there's still going to have to be marketing dollars. There's going to have to be a marketing campaign to push this, to get people to the HBO Max subscribers, so they've probably put that in there as well. But I fully expect there's going to be a lot of CGI work and a lot of ADR
I want to
work.
see it. This is like unprecedented. I just gotta see it. I'm so curious. I mean,
not unprecedented. We talked about that last week, but go on.
I mean, to the level of what it's at. I mean, you just don't see stuff like this. I'll rephrase it. You don't see stuff like this very often.
There you go. Okay.
And it's just like when you get to run like a scientific experiment. You get to see Hollywood make two movies over again, and it's just entertaining.
I work in marketing. This is an A/B test.
Yeah, exactly.
We're going to give you Joss Whedon's Justice League, and now we're going to give you Zack Snyder's Justice League, which is like they feature maybe a little bit of the same footage. And
which one got more clicks?
Yeah, well, obviously Zack Snyder's, because it was the one that was shunned and put away, and there was again, you're buying banners to fly over Comic-Con from airplanes. Like, Jesus Christ, these people, they're the ones making it worse for me. Otherwise, I'd just let it happen at this point. But sad news, or not sad news, I guess news is there's tons of reports going around. Henry Cavill is not in talks to return as Superman. Just let everyone know. However, there's interest from WB to make it happen if they want him to.
Yeah, I would say the news was relatively fair extrapolation, though, because I feel like the last time people checked in on Henry Cavill and Superman, he was just like, I got the cape in my closet. I can pick it up whenever I want. So he was basically saying, whenever I get the call, I'm ready to jump back in. So it seems like everybody involved in the party is ready to get going and ready to keep it moving. So
but no one's talking. That's the thing. Like, will it happen? Like, I guess here's the thing. What do you do with the new DC universe? Mm-hmm. You have a new Batman, right? Ben Affleck is not coming back. Superman, I mean, what's his name? Henry Cavill, he is out making money doing other stuff. Like, he needs to work, right? You can't just wait around waiting for Superman to call on you someday. And what is it? When did it 2013 when Man of Steel came out? 2014?
Yeah. I mean, I feel when we were talking about the Snyder Cut, what was this? Time is a construct now. I don't remember if it was a week ago or 2 weeks ago. But I feel like I unfairly said all of the Justice League characters were dead in the water. But then once I thought about it, I was like, wait, no. Wonder Woman's still out there.
Yeah.
We're getting another Aquaman movie. Henry Cavill could step back in. Ezra Miller seems to be possibly moving forward as the Flash. So really, it's just Ben Affleck as Batman. But Ben Affleck is such a Cyborg. Yeah, he would still be around, but it's just like, it's weird because Batman is still such a key character. It is weird to imagine that all of these Justice League actors moving forward without Ben Affleck. But I wonder if you just do a straight up recast. I guess you could have your Robert Pattinson younger Batman running around doing his young Batman movies. But then maybe you just recast an older Batman and you kind of keep the Batfleck going just without the Fleck part of it.
The problem is, they've said this even with Zack Snyder's Justice League, that is not moving on beyond that, right? Like, that world is done. So what do they do with this new world? Even Aquaman was like, yeah, that maybe happened. And then, for 3 seconds, and then they ignored it.
Yeah. Well, the director for Shazam, David Sandberg, he's very active on social media and on the internet. Even has his own YouTube channel where he puts up behind the scenes stuff. I would recommend following him. Yeah. Also, I also liked the Shazam movie, so I believe he does good work, is what I'm trying to say. But he was kind of putting up some Shazam Superman memes on his Twitter account. I don't know if he was making them or just resharing them, but he had this funny edit of his end credit scene where you see just Superman and the cafeteria from the neck down, and then he panned the camera up, and Superman just has this really long giraffe neck, and you see Henry Cavill's head on the top of it. And I was just like, so at least you got the director of Shazam, who is officially doing a sequel, saying like, hey, you know, I'm not afraid to say Henry Cavill is Superman in my world. I mean, it's pretty much the same costume.
Yeah, pretty much everything.
I don't know if anybody's analyzed the detail of the costume, but I mean, I wouldn't mind seeing Henry Cavill pop up in a Shazam movie. I don't want Superman to take it over because I really love Zachary Levi and those characters that they've created, but it'd be kind of cool to get a more official cameo, I guess.
Well, what if you just get rid of Batman and Superman and make a new Justice League?
Yeah,
like,
I mean,
like the Avengers were not that team of Avengers until they made them in the movies.
Yeah, it's not saying that we can't do it. It's almost like, what if you kind of take this approach of maybe the big bad comes in and straight up kills Superman and Batman, and then that totally changes the world for all of these DC characters, and they have to pull themselves up, you know, kind of bring in some young Justice characters that are filling in some of the ranks. You know, the only dicey part of it is Zack Snyder kind of already tried this. He was like, I'm going to start my whole new DC universe. I'm going to start it kind of later in the life of all these characters. Things have already been established. I'm going to kind of create my own new narrative. And then it didn't go well. So if they're going to do this, hopefully they have a really visionary producer that can really kind of track this stuff on the whiteboards.
Well, I mean, the problem is you have to nix so many movies. Like the first Suicide Squad, no longer applicable. Mm-hmm. The Birds of Prey doesn't really, not applicable. The Joker, not applicable. I mean, there's just so much more recently. It's such an interesting place to be. I just don't think... I think there's an opportunity to put in new characters. You don't have to kill them off. Yeah. You just put in new characters and be like, all right, this is our new team.
I mean, there is such a perfect solution right in front of this, and it's the most comic book solution that there ever is you just like make worlds collide, make alternate dimensions, make Flashpoint a thing again. I mean, you have all of the storytelling narrative that you need to make this somewhat make sense, because comic books do this like every 5 years. So
the Flash is the only way that it could work easily. Mm-hmm. As long as they actually make that movie. I mean, that thing has changed how many directors now and how many release dates. So if that one hits, they could probably rewrite a lot of this. And I think if you need to change your Batman and Superman, that's your point to do it. Mm-hmm. And just go from there. So we'll see how this happens. We'll see what plays by.
As we always say, we'll keep you posted.
Yeah, Jesus, we have to at this point. Sonic the Hedgehog is the number one watched at-home movie this year.
Hey, good for you.
Yep, it passed Birds of Prey this week to become the number one movie. And then also a sequel was announced this week with the same writers to return.
Hey, well, at least they'll hit the ground running in the right direction. There won't be any delays. They got their visual look for the characters.
They got that down pat, didn't they?
Yeah. I haven't seen it yet. I know it's up on Chris Flex, so I could watch it very easily if I needed to.
I've not watched it either, so it's fine.
I'm looking forward to when I get around to it, because I've kind of slowly starting to really fall for James Marsden. You know, he was in Westworld for a while. He was kind of like a side character, I guess, connected more to one of the main characters, so you got to see a little bit more of him. What was his name? Teddy?
Yeah, Teddy. He was more primary in the first season than the second.
But James Marsden also is in the first 2 seasons of Dead to Me, which is a show I kind of plugged a couple weeks ago on the podcast. So James Marsden's really hot right now. I mean, he's picking some good stuff. I guess Sonic the Hedgehog might be sloppy seconds for him, though, because wasn't Chris Pratt supposed to be in there originally?
Yeah, well, I mean, they had different roles, people. But, I mean, I think, James Marsden is Cyclops, first and foremost. He brought Cyclops to life.
You can't get the Cyclops out of your head.
No, and then guy, like 1 and 2, and then the third one, it was, we're not going to talk about that. But then what did he do? Was it the movie Sex Drive? He was...
oh, God, what is Sex Drive? What are you talking about?
It was like this teen travel across the country movie. Seth Green played an Amish guy, and James Marsden was the older brother. Like, he played like a... James Marsden is eternally young looking, so he can play like almost any age role. But I mean, like, he's been up and down, like on top of the game with X-Men and back down and now back up again. So I think it's interesting. I think Sonic the Hedgehog, I'd like to watch it. I'd like to see Knuckles and the Chaos Emeralds in the second one, to be honest. But I'll take anything at this point. Jim Carrey is regular looking Dr. Robotnik. Again, it's coming from someone who hasn't seen the movie. I want to see that. So give us some.
Yeah, we have things that we want to see, even though we haven't seen the movie yet.
Yeah, we got a lot. We got a lot on our plates.
We got a lot of unjust demands over here.
Yeah, exactly. I got no floor, Mike. What am I going to do with my life? But yeah, I mean that's our notes for this week, Mike. We wrapped up the show. We got her done somehow. But if people want to know what you're up to, what you're doing, where can they find you at?
Well, they can check me out at Mike Royer Design on Instagram and Twitter, and you can read my webcomics at pickledcomics.com. I'm almost at a milestone where I don't really put a lot of effort into the Facebook page for Pickled Comics, but we are almost to 1,000 likes, which is pretty impressive because I have not done any marketing on the Facebook side of things. So I'm pretty happy that I'm going to get that 1K milestone soon. So if you want to push me over the edge, I think I'm only like a couple away. So you could be the 1,000th like on my webcomic, but you can check that out at pickledcomics.com. Chris, if people want to catch up with you, you finally got your AC fixed. So obviously you're not going to die of heat stroke anytime soon, but maybe if they want to see if you kill yourself with like a flooring hammer or something, where can they find you?
Oh yeah, I forgot my air conditioner was broke last week, wasn't it? I'm living a much better life. But you can find me on Twitter, Valdan, VALDAN. I shared pictures of my carpetless floor earlier, so everyone can pray for me. Hopefully, get this done without killing myself or my wife killing me. One of the two. You can also head over to Instagram, Valdan87. It's on there as well, or Comic UI. If people want to know more about our show, listen to our episodes, where can they find us at, Mike?
Oh, so easy to do. All you got to do is visit superheroslate.com. That is the best place to find all the avenues we host the show and to get our awesome show notes. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, YouTube, Spotify, wherever else you love to listen to find podcasts. Please like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter or Instagram, and you can get merch or swag, whatever you want to call it. My wife and I had like a slight argument earlier this week where we were trying to figure out the origin of swag or like when it started to become popular, because she was like writing something up and she was talking about the movie Hitch back in like the 2000s, and we're like, was swag a word back in the 2000s? And it was just ridiculous because we had to Google it. So that's something that we did during quarantine, was Google the origin of swag. So, but if you want Superhero Slate swag, that is at superheroslate.com/store. As always, we love hearing from you. What do you want us to talk about? What are you mad that there's not something in the HBO Max catalog that you thought there were going to be? Do you have a Roku or an Amazon Fire Stick? Because it's not on any of those things right now. I don't think it's ever coming to Amazon because I think they're beefing, but I think it might come to Roku soon, so I'm crossing my fingers. So what out there is annoying you about just inconsequential stuff in entertainment? We would love to talk about it. So please reach out, let us know. We love our super fans, so if you want to be a super fan of this show, all you have to do is share the show with a friend, share the show with a buddy, wash your hand, support the movement out there, and we will be here every week.
Yes, especially next week, and we will see you then.
All right, bye everybody.
Thanks for listening, and don't forget to subscribe.
Well, when you showed me, I'm like, he didn't put those down himself, did he?
No. We have people for that.